Beep, 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 beep. Morning, Jester. Hello, how are we? There are times when you can see small cracks appear in the edifice. That's my opening line for today. Do you have cracks in your edifice? That's a great word, edifice. So, occasionally you see a crack in the edifice. So we got a crack in the edifice, I think, today. Actually, it came out on the 7th, but I've just got round to doing it. So today we are in the Americas and talking about Joe Biden. You know, the bloke who did that video where he said America's great. So one word describes exactly why America is great. A foot. I don't know if that's doctrine, but it's glorious at any rate, right? So we've got a piece of news here from AP News. In America, Biden's sports plan angers transgender advocates' opponents. So it's angering everybody, right? But this is an interesting one. A Biden administration proposal to forbid outright bans on transgender athletes sparked outrage from conservative leaders and everybody else. They keep talking about it as if it's a right-left thing. While also angering trans rights activists who note schools could still prevent some athletes from participating on teams that align with their gender identity. Insane, innit? Mad, right? Male, female, not difficult. Not hard. Let's do it, right? The proposed rule, which still faces a lengthy approval process, established that blanket bans, like those that have been approved in at least 20 states, would violate what's called Title IX, right? The landmark gender equity legislation enacted in 1972. But schools that receive federal funding could still adopt policies that limit transgender students' participation, particularly in more competitive high school and college sports. Under the proposal, it would be much more difficult for schools to ban, for example, a transgender girl in elementary school from playing on a girls' basketball team. Shouldn't be hard, should it? You're not playing, you're a bloke. Because remember, it's iatrogenic, they're talking about children there. It's iatrogenic and they're talking about children. But it would also leave room for schools to develop policies that prohibit trans athletes from playing on more competitive teams if those policies are designed to ensure fairness or prevent sports-related injuries. So Biden, who's been, did he have that ridiculous Mulvaney character I mentioned the other day, sit in front of him and wibble on about being a woman when he's not, he's a bloke? What was it? Gareth Roberts, brilliant, put up a picture of him with his hair up here, and he called her Tawdry Hepburn. That's genius. So, thank you, Gareth. Tawdry Hepburn, right? So, Biden's always been like, yeah, it's all trans. Everything's trans. It's all going to be trans. Right, okay. But what's going on here then? Is the tide turning for Biden? Is he seeing something that, maybe he should have seen earlier? Is it possible the Democrats have gone, hang on a minute. This may well lose us the election. I think it might. Okay? Because like over here, where we're expecting to get a Labour government and more than likely will, it doesn't mean that there aren't people who are now going, Starmer, what the hell are you doing? So we're seeing a similar thing occurring here in America, in that there's a wiggle room, right? As they try to do the one thing that I say we can't do, which is both sides of the issue. There is no both sides. We get rid of critical social justice throughout our society. It has to go. It's a dangerous force. And gender identity ideology and queer theory are part of that. So it's got to go. But what they're saying here is, no, you can't ban, but you can in certain circumstances. Right? So they're at the top of the legislation, they believe in gender identity ideology. But on the other hand, you could ban, in some cases, it doesn't make any logical sense. And this is America, for goodness sake, land of the free. What are you playing at? So Imara Jones, a trans woman, a man, who created the Anti-Trans Hate Machine podcast, really, right, blasted the proposal, saying President Joe Biden is attempting to straddle the fence. Well, Imara, my dear, I agree with you. I agree he is attempting to straddle the fence, but if it's him, it'll have to be a pretty low fence. Or somebody would have to lift him over. Foot. Has there ever been a better time to be a podcaster? Right, okay. He is attempting to straddle the fence on human rights issues ahead of an election by giving illegal recourse to schools that bar some trans athletes from competition. Well, first off, I don't think it is a human rights issue. Trans people don't have the same rights as everybody else. Don't know what it is they want. Nobody seems to be able to tell me. Right? We want self-ID. No, you're not having that. Right? Okay, we're not allowing you to pretend to be something you're not. That's not a human right. There's no human right to pretend to be something you're not. All right? It's that simple. Gosh. It says here, so straddle the fence on human rights issues, giving legal recourse to schools that bar some trans athletes. What we're seeing here, I think, and what is awfully frustrating for me, and I imagine for many of you, is the inability of the government to go no to all of it. Right? Oh, well, let the schools decide. No! Right? Don't let the schools decide. Don't let them decide. No is the answer. It's iatrogenic. It's iatrogenic. It hurts people. From the very beginning, from the moment they start that social transition nonsense, it hurts them. The answer's no. Okay? We're not going to facilitate Munchausen by proxy parents. Right? Or gender-addled kids. We're not going to do it. So in other words, I think we have to say it's not a human rights issue at all. It's just a grab for power by a certain power base. Get them gone. What Jones continued, the Biden administration framed their proposal as a ban on blanket discrimination against trans athletes, Jones said, but actually it provides guidelines for how schools and universities can ban trans athletes legally. It's not complicated. Nobody wants to ban trans athletes from sport, okay? But what we want the government to say and what we want the university to say is men are women and women are men. That's it. There is nothing else. Everything is going to be driven around that, okay? That's it. Trans rights are human rights. Well, you have the same rights as every other human because you're living in the reality of your body. We're not playing your silly fantasy games anymore. And after seeing the BMJ kick back against I can't remember the twit's name, that doctor that wrote that ridiculous list that they all sign without looking at, the medical schools, as the BMJ said, we're not doing your ideology anymore, and it really infuriated people. So I think that it's very interesting that it's going in this direction. U.S. Republican Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a New York Democrat, also offered pointed criticism, saying it was indefensible and embarrassing. Well, that woman's entirely indefensible and embarrassing most of the time. If you've ever seen her in action, she's insane. Erin Reed, a prominent trans activist and researcher, said the proposal alarmingly echoes right-wing talking points, which argue that trans participation could increase injuries and take away scholarship opportunities from female athletes. It does. What is wrong with you, you foolish person? Meaning their gender identity matches the sex they were assigned. But it then goes on to talk about all that cobblers, right? It says extensive research is virtually non-existent when it comes to determining whether adolescent trans girls have a clear athletic advantage over cisgender girls. They're living in cloud cuckoo land. Extensive research is virtually non-existent when it comes to determining whether boys have a clear athletic advantage over girls. Really? Get in the bin with your nonsense. I can't read this any other way than a betrayal, said Erin Reed in a tweet. Good. So what, you LARPing man? The US Department of Education declined to comment Friday on criticism from trans rights activists. There you go. They declined to comment. Does this all sound eerily familiar? They're all sitting there going, careful what you say. What have you written? Let's look at every word. They're all, just say it. We're done with this. Just say it. Right, now what's happening at the AHRC and what's happening with the government about, getting sex redefined in the Equality Act is all well and good, but it ain't going to do us any good until we get rid of the GRA. So we'll see how it goes. You know what? We know what hard nut the Jester is on this one, so get rid of the GRA, I say. We'll see how it goes. Here. Noisy devils, they start doing things in spring. I think they're going to go and cut the grass opposite today. You have a fantastic day, and I'll see you later. Bye.